About 10 days ago, Blitz absolutely dog-walked two of the absolute worst flurfers on Discord. The debate was set to be against Indio. Now, I've talked to Indio a few times. Here are a couple of highlights from that. Did you guys see that the sun rose in the southeast in Ushuaia?
Yeah, so they freaked out, and?
Well, it's devastating for flat Earth.
It is? Can you put that into a logical syllogism?
You can simply model the flat Earth, and you can show how in the southern hemisphere, as long as you're below the Tropic of Cancer, the sun is never in the southeast. But on a globe, that's exactly what you would expect.
Okay. Is that a logical syllogism? You're embarrassing yourself. We record
Says the
this.
guy that thinks the Earth is flat.
I know it's flat.
No, you don't.
You think it's a globe based upon faulty
How do you
reasoning.
know that? Put it into a logical syllogism.
Okay, I go outside, the Earth looks flat, therefore it is flat.
That's not a
What's wrong
logical
with that?
syllogism. This is just basic geometry. Straight lines going away from the North Pole radially in all directions. You're going to get farther
those
apart
lines,
from
those radial
going to
lines
get
in all
farther apart
directions.
from each other. They never get closer together.
Yeah, they're farther apart on the map, but in reality, if you take that map and do the formulas that are printed on the map to get the distances, they're not farther apart in actual physical distance.
And why is that? So, in other words,
I
the
don't
map
know.
is
He's
inaccurate.
the one who made it. Pardon me? It's not accurate, then the globe's not accurate.
Yes, it is, because on the globe, it would tell us that the cities to the south are closer together, and that is the case.
Yeah, and if you take the Gleason's map and do what I just told you.
Yeah, but you don't have to do that with the globe model.
No, how would you do it?
You
with the
have
globe
to
model?
you have to make your
You
map
have to
fit
do it-
reality, whereas the globe fits reality.
What makes you say that?
Because you just conceded.
What are you talking about?
You just said if you
I
take the
said the
Gleason
results
map
that you
and
would
then
get
you
from-
and then you do some number magic and then whatever, then it does match reality. But on the globe model,
Okay,
you don't have to do that. It already matches reality.
You do.
No, you don't.
You do.
No, you don't.
Yep.
And Blitz also talked to this guy named AV. I've watched hardly any of the discussion between Blitz and AV, but from what I saw, it went horrible for him. For AV, that is. Indio is truly one of the absolute most insufferable little peons in the flat earth community. He never, ever will defend a single claim except for weird little obscure low resolution recordings of videos he got from the internet, which backfires in his face in this video so perfectly. All he does is deflect and obfuscate. Case in point, you can't actually see this because I have it cropped because Blitz uploaded a vertical video. But I had to fast forward to almost 18 minutes into this debate before they actually kind of sort of get on the topic, which is what shape is the Earth. It started off with Blitz asking Indio what he thinks, and Indio said, "Oh, I know that the Earth is flat." And then Blitz asked him, "Okay, so what do you think what is the moon? What is the sun? What are things that we see in the celestial up in the sky?" And he's such a bullshit artist. He wouldn't answer that question. So they've spent, like I said, well over 15 minutes discussing meta instead of the actual topic.
So we can have a bunch of explanations. If I drop something, here's one explanation. Mass attracts mass. Here's another. Magic elves with magic rubber bands. Here's another. My mental powers project telemetric freaking forces. Like, I can come up with all sorts of explanations as to the description.
Yeah, which is what flat earthers do. They come up with bullshit explanations that always contradict everything else. Whereas we have very simple, elegant models that all cooperate.
How do we determine which explanation is the most likely to be correct?
What do you mean most likely? That's a probable. No. Okay. Most likely is a probabilistic.
No. It's just... So we finally get to the point where we can discuss, okay, you and I are both looking at the world. We have the same evidence. How do we determine whose explanation of that evidence or whose model or whatever is best? And he runs away from it at the speed of light.
Statement.
Yeah, can you answer the question? How do we figure out which explanation is most likely to be correct?
That's subjective, isn't it?
It doesn't have to be. No, you can use like Bayes law, or Bayes formula rather.
Okay, you can yeah, great. Use Bayes' theorem to.
It doesn't have to be subjective.
To get some confidence level that your explanation is correct, but you don't actually know anything, do you?
That's why I asked. How do we figure out which explanation is most likely to be correct?
The one that makes you feel good. Whatever you subjectively feel like is the most correct one.
Okay, so your view of explanations towards physical phenomena is
Okay.
based off of what makes you feel good?
Well, no, that's yours. That's your
He asked you, Indio.
I didn't say that,
criteria,
you
not
did.
mine.
You just
That's your
said it, I didn't say
criteria,
that.
though.
That's not my
Your criteria is what you think is most likely.
I'm sorry, are we reading minds now? Because that was what you said, not what I said.
No. You said explanations should describe what is most likely, right? Should
No, I
tell you
didn't say
why
that.
something happened.
I didn't
then tell
actually
me
give
what
a
you said.
definition of explanation. I was using your
Then tell me what you
definition of
said.
explanation.
And tell me what you said.
I asked you how do you establish which explanation is most likely to be correct? Given your definition
You
of explanation. Oh, you can't. So there's no way to figure out which explanation.
Yeah, so there's no reason to ever have a discussion on anything. So he says that he knows. I didn't play it. You can go watch the video yourself if you want. He claims that he knows the earth is flat, and he claims that you cannot know, nobody can determine what the most likely explanation for anything is. This guy, he is like the perfect embodiment of why you need to leave your hometown to avoid accidentally reproducing with your second cousin that you didn't know was your second cousin, because it just kind of, you just lose track, because that kind of inbreeding gets you Indio.
Are good and which are not good.
Well, I mean, that's subjective.
So if I said,
Let me give you an example, a specific example.
Let me
There
give
was
you an
the
example,
epicycle. There was an epicycle
Let's
model of
suppose-
astronomy.
let's
There was
suppose
hold
that I
on, dude.
dropped-
No, stop. You're not gonna steamroll me.
you
So
can
there was
steamroll
an
me, it's a
epicycle model of
okay.
astronomy, and there was the Keplerian model of astronomy, right? Why did we abandon one for the other? It wasn't accuracy.
It was simplicity.
That wasn't the reason either.
I mean, that seems like a good enough reason to me. Do you know the historical reason? Is there some historical reason?
Yeah,
that's,
actually,
written
yeah,
down
there
in
is a
text? Go ahead,
historical
tell me.
reason. There was one guy that
Go ahead
didn't
and tell
like
me.
the idea because, there was a guy. So this was medieval Europe, and I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. He preferred the Keplerian model because it gave some sort of hypothesis.
Keplerian.
It gave some
That
sort of
can be tested?
hypothesis, explanation as to why things happened. Whereas the epicycle model, though it gave right predictions, there was no explanation for it. He preferred a
Yeah, okay.
hypothesis, and people in Europe adopted this view. We prefer the explanation, but this is just subjective.
Well, so do you?
This is
so
just a
on the one
subjective
hand,
preference.
So the epicycle doesn't provide an explanation. The
So
Keplerian
what?
model does.
Yeah, no shit. The Kepler model, it makes the epicycles go away. The epicycles were invoked out of necessity because the model couldn't explain anything. So the geocentric and even the Copernican heliocentric model just says, oh, by the way, epicycles happen. They make no logical sense. The model can't account for them. It just says so there is no explanation. The Kepler model gets rid of them, and it doesn't get rid of them based on necessity. It gets rid of them because the observations demonstrate that sorry, my cat is distracting me. That the elliptical orbits are in fact a thing, and then Newtonian gravity explained mathematically why, Newton derived Kepler's laws and then solved for gravity, and then general relativity came along and explained why the Newtonian model is that way.
So if your
So?
goal is to find explanations for things, then you would want to investigate the thing that presents an explanation, right?
Okay, so you have an explanation. Now what? You feel better?
Well, then you can check to see if it's a good explanation or not. You don't seem to think that that's possible, though, right?
No. I'm saying
Yes, you explicitly said that nobody can do that, Indio.
the evaluation is subjective. Are you not
How do
understanding
you?
that?
So, I mean, in some sense, like the entirety of human experience is subjective, but like we can set that aside and we can do our best
no.
to do
wanna get into
objective science, right? Unless you don't think that.
You don't believe that human experience is subjective? By definition, it is subjective. So that's just a taste of, like I said, the bullshit artistry that is Indio. Now, let's fast forward to him getting absolutely destroyed by Blitz. Well, I think I'll refer to it as him getting blitzed by Blitz. Oh, actually, before we get to the scientific part of it, we're still a little bit on meta here, but Blitz blitzed him so bad on this that we have to play it. Indio's doing the whole presuppositionalist solipsism thing of, oh, well, you don't know anything for certain, so why are you trying to get people to go down your path of uncertainty?
Just to be clear, are you an absolutist about truth?
Yes.
About knowledge,
There is absolute truth. That's right.
Okay, so how do you know that you're anything more than a brain and a bat?
I don't start from the presupposition of the internal world. Okay, I start from the presupposition of the external world. Has primacy.
Okay, how
Your
do
brain
you
is
justify that?
contaminated by cards.
And so you can't so that's just a belief without justification then, right?
Okay, no, it's not a belief without justification.
What's the justification?
You're talking to me right now. Are you talking to yourself?
I'm not an absolutist about truth. You are. So
Are you
you're the one
talking to
that has to
yourself
provide
right
it.
now?
So you
Blitz is kind of doing what I do with these people, which is I say, prove that I'm not a figment of your imagination, which they can't do. They fucking hate that so much when you do that to them. And Indio's response is, you're talking to me right now, aren't you? That's actually exactly the response I usually get. And then I just say something like, yeah, a figment of your imagination could talk to you. Anybody can talk to themselves in your head. Prove that that's not happening. They can't do this, but they pretend that for some reason they can. And it's just funny to watch them squirm.
you have to provide a justification.
I
for
am
your
not talking
worldview.
to myself. You're correct. There's
you
an
know?
external world, and I'm not
do you know?
talking because you're asking me a question.
How do you know it's
Are
not
you?
delusion?
Am I interrogating myself right now?
He's going in a circle.
Could be. How do you know?
See, you guys have to take an absurdist worldview and
No,
borrow from a
this is your
absolute
worldview that's absurd.
No,
That's
you have
absurd
you have to
because you're
borrow
the
from my
absolutist
worldview
here.
to even have a worldview.
No, Indio, you're borrowing from Blitz's view.
I don't even know what your worldview is. You're claiming absolute certainty, and you won't tell me what you're certain of.
Okay. Yes, I am certain that you are talking to me right now, and you're not me.
And how did
Okay?
you come to that conclusion?
Really simple. Okay, because that is the only way we can communicate.
What if it's an
not
illusion?
possible.
Why couldn't you be hallucinating?
Okay, because I couldn't have made up this interrogation.
Oh, why not?
You absolutely could have.
People have whole ass conversations in their dreams.
How many of you have dreamt that you woke up and started your day and started doing things, and then you woke up and you realized, whoa, I wasn't actually doing any of those things? That kind of thing happens.
In their hallucinations.
Why not? You can't be a part of my imagination.
Why not? How do
Is
you
that what
know
you're
that with
asking me?
absolute certainty? Yes.
Okay, because I'm not talking to myself. I know that without
Just begging the question. The thing he's asking you is what you're using as evidence of the conclusion that we're looking for.
certainty, because there are certain transcendental categories which exist. We're gonna end up going way down
Because
something
there's
that
certain
you're not ready for.
transcendental- Oh wait, are we doing?
Yes,
Are we
like
doing
the
tag
laws
right
of
now?
logic and shit.
Are we doing tag right now?
No, we're not doing tag. Like the laws of logic.
Yeah. So how do you know that the laws of logic are true?
So they exist because we wouldn't be able to communicate without them.
Oh, how do you know that with absolute certainty?
Because
How do you
you're
know you're not
speaking to
mistaken?
me and your words have because your words have meanings, right? And we assign
they,
those
or are you
things.
hallucinating
Those
those
mean
meanings?
Oh, dude, those meanings have an identity. Why you like if you believe what you're saying, you
No,
wouldn't every word
are
you
forced to
said
believe these
every
things.
if you believe look listen, every word you said would have no meaning. It would mean everything and nothing all at the same
This
time.
isn't my worldview.
That's
I'm not
an
an
absurd.
absolutist. You are.
Okay. You have to borrow from my worldview where there is a law of
I don't even know-
identity.
I don't even know what your worldview is.
It just goes on like this. Okay, so 37 minutes and 4 seconds into the video, we finally start talking about evidence of the shape of the Earth.
Let's get to like empirical evidence that the Earth is a globe.
Yeah, sure.
I was
Are you
going to
familiar
ask
with
you
the
if you
Minos
know the Earth
experiment?
is a globe.
Are you familiar
Well, I
with
was
the
gonna
Minos
ask-
experiment?
Oh, the so-called neutrino experiment.
Yeah, Minos neutrino beam. Are you
Yeah,
familiar with
I'm familiar with it.
that? Okay.
I'm familiar with it.
So they
Which is more statistical nonsense if you really want to go through
More
it. No one in this
statistical-
chat is going to understand it. You want to keep it simpler?
He's he knows what's coming, and he knows he knows that he cannot possibly argue against it, so he begs Blitz not to talk about the topic because the audience, they're not going to understand it, and you're just going to lie.
No, actually, because this is definitive proof that the Earth is a globe. So if,
definitive
if you wanna
proof.
Run, if you want to run from it, yeah, proof in the scientific
No.
sense.
I don't want to run from it. No one in this chat's going to understand it
I can
because
explain
we're
it.
going to start. We're
My
going to
job
start
is
talking about
scientist.
No, you're
My job is
explaining.
science
I'm going to
communication. I
explain
can
it,
absolutely explain it. Yeah.
and you're going to
I'll
omit
explain it to
about
the
20.
to the
And
audience.
you're going to omit. You're going to omit a lot of information. I guarantee it.
I'm going to synthesize and summarize.
No, you're gonna
Part of
lie by
that
omission.
okay, well, so if you want to, poison the well.
How did
more,
they
that's
detect the
fine.
direction of the neutrinos?
I'll do my best to show you what they're talking about. So there's this neutrino detector experiment. They have a neutrino cannon, and it shoots neutrinos through the Earth. It's angled down at around 3 degrees. It blasts them into the Earth. Now, if the Earth is flat, then that beam is just going to keep going into the Earth forever. But if the Earth is curved, then eventually that beam actually leaves the Earth. Now, that's not what the experiment is designed to detect. Instead, there's a neutrino detector buried in the ground, but it's not buried that far. So if you take the angle that the beam is shooting the neutrinos and you can calculate the distance and the curvature of the Earth, you can know, okay, this is how deep in the ground the neutrino detector needs to be buried. And the neutrino detector, in fact, does detect neutrinos, and they turn the device on and off to calibrate it and to test whether or not the detector is detecting background neutrinos or the neutrinos coming from the cannon. So this is absolutely solved. It 100% proves that the Earth cannot possibly be flat, because if you just do the simple trigonometry, you would find that the neutrino cannon would have to be, it's something like 30 something kilometers up in the sky to hit the detector at that 3-degree angle, which the detector's hundreds of miles away. So now that you know what they're discussing, let's just watch the absolute clown show that is Indio.
Correlated.
I said the wrong word, forgive me. The momentum actually is the direction that they're traveling in. That's what momentum does. It tells you about direction.
Okay.
And so given the scattering, or given the scattering, the transfer of momentum from the neutrinos to the detected particles, you can track basically by the way that the flashes of light appear in the detector.
You mean the reverse Cherenkov radiation?
I don't know why you're calling it reverse, but sure, and it's Cherenkov.
Oh, I was thinking something else.
So yeah, so so there's a fairly straightforward claim. So
they get the cross section of a cone of the Cherenkov radiation, and they infer the direction that the neutrino came from based upon this. But it's well known from the ice cube experiment that they did in Antarctica that neutrinos arrive out of the Earth.
Yeah. So do you want to let me explain or no? Because you've done some lying by omission now, actually.
Oh, so did the ice cube experiment in Antarctica, one with balloons, detect neutrinos? That they come out of the Earth?
They come from all directions. Fortunately, we can figure out whether or not the neutrinos that we're detecting produced by Fermilab are those produced by Fermilab by modulating
how many
the
detections?
Exactly.
How many detections are there?
How many individual detections of
Yes.
the Minos experiment has run for a very long time. I don't know off the top of my head how many individual
It's
detections.
about
the Minos
6.
experiment
Last
has
time I looked, it was 6.
No, the Minos detection has been running since 1998. The Minos class.
Yeah, there was 6 detections.
You think that
Last time I looked, which was like 8 years ago.
Wait, you think that the Minos experiment has only ever detected 6
Neutrino
neutrinos?
detection. Well, listen, it was 6 neutrinos. Okay, over the 3 or 4 years that it was run that I knew about.
Okay, hold on. So
neutrinos are hard to detect, correctly? Correct?
He's just backing up. He introduced something to cast doubt, and then when he's pushed on it, he backs up, he backs away from it. He's such a slimy little coward.
They're famously hard to detect. Here, let me. I have a paper pulled up from 2013. The Minos experiment results in prospects. I'm looking at a flux chart, which just tells you the amount of neutrinos that are detected at different energies. And what I'm seeing is that there's far more than 6. There's more than 6 bins, and they all have more than 1 unit in them. Now, we can actually probably search through this paper and find exact. Oh yeah, so this is events per 8.2 times 10 to the 20 pod. So here's thousands of events per GeV. So I'm not posting it. I'm just, I can post it if you want. I can pull it up if you want. But the important point.
What's the title of the paper?
The Minos experiment results in prospects by J.J. Evans. So I have a chart that I'm looking at literally right now, which is data of thousands of detections. Anyway, so do you agree that so I'm going to describe the Minos experiment really quick. Please don't interrupt me. Is that fair?
Now, if Blitz was like India, what he would do is sit there and just call him a liar 20 times in a row and say, we're not discussing anything because you lied about the last thing. You don't know what you're talking about, bro. I know your model better than you do.
Yeah.
And I'll describe the relevant bits. So Fermilab is a particle accelerator in Chicago, or just outside Chicago. And one of the things that they can do is they can produce neutrinos, which is a type of subatomic particle. They're very, very rare, or not rare. They're very, very hard to detect, and they don't interact with much. So one of the things that they can do is they take this beam of neutrinos that they produce in Chicago, And they angled them down into the Earth at an angle of like 3-ish degrees. I could work out the math. I think it's like 2.5 or 3 degrees or something. They angle it down into the Earth. And then 730 kilometers away in Sudan, which is a place in Minnesota, it's a town in Minnesota, they have a detector. And the detector is like 700 meters below the Earth or something like this. And the detector picks up those neutrinos that came from Chicago, 730 kilometers away. Now, if it were the case that the Earth was flat and that they were not trying to pass through the bulk of the Earth, the curve of the Earth, if you will, then they wouldn't have had to angle it down at 3 degrees. They would have had to angle it down at like 1/10 of a degree or something in order to reach the detector that was 700 meters underground. The fact that they had to angle it down that deep is very compelling evidence to me that the Earth is surely a sphere.
Okay. Can I speak now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now, you claimed that the source of the neutrinos, these aren't even direct measurements of neutrinos, these are indirect measurements of the weak interaction of the neutrino with the nucleus of an atom, right?
Yep.
That's how you detect a neutrino. That's like, see, the way they obsessively pour, like, they know a lot of stuff. They don't understand anything, but they know a lot of stuff. The way they obsessively pour over data to come up with garbage, rebuttals like that. What he just said is the equivalent of, oh, you claimed that there was an albino giraffe and you used a picture. You know that a picture is just photons that strike a detector, and then the photon detector transfers that into electrical signals, and then those electrical signals are then programmed into an SD card, and then you take your SD card to Walgreens and they print it. So yeah, this photo is not a photo of a giraffe. That's just ink on paper that was originally a bunch of photons. So nice try. How is a man with 10% of a brain able to function normally? What did 16th century Arctic explorers eat that made their skin fall off? Why did Columbus think the Earth had a nipple, like a breast? Learn the history behind these stories and well over 100 more in my new book, Facts That Aren't True. Check out my other book too. Link in the description.
How they're not even detecting a particle. They're detecting the light that a particle emits when it travels faster than the speed of light within that particular medium. Mm-hmm. And they're using an avalanche photodetector to detect this light emission, correct?
Yeah, you're describing how the detection method works, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, how do you know they came from Chicago?
You can turn it off, and then you stop seeing that many detections.
Is that what they did?
That's been done, yeah.
So what he tried to argue is that, like, we see neutrinos all the time. Apparently they detected neutrinos in Antarctica with an ice cube. I don't even know what that, like, whatever. But yeah, neutrinos come from all around. I kind of explained this a little bit ago. So there are background neutrinos, but we have a neutrino cannon that is going to, if you have a neutrino cannon, that's obviously going to increase the number of hits, and they can turn the cannon off and see that the hits go down, and then turn it on and see that the hits go up.
I have a friend actually who's been
is
there.
that? Well, I talked to someone that worked at the one in Japan, and I also talked to the one for the Minos. So I talked to people about
doubt
this.
it.
Okay, that in the experiment, so-called experiment, actually. Now you talk to them, you might not know who it is, but you talk to them.
No,
anyway.
I talked to a guy named Quantanaut, who's a friend of mine.
Oh, him too.
Who's
okay. Anyway,
a particle physicist. But yeah, I mean, like,
that's
in
fantastic. And I've asked him the same question that I'm asking you. How do you know which direction it came from? And he didn't have an answer, just like you.
Wait, I gave you an
He
answer.
gave you
You can track the particle motion by looking at the momentum of the.
Can or did?
I'm telling you how you can figure out the direction of motion.
Can or did?
So to be clear,
Okay, I'll take that silence as the answer.
This is how calorimeters.
So he's saying, oh, hypothetically you could, or you actually did. He did this with me a whole bunch of times. One of the times I talked to him, I said, I said, for example, well, when they were doing the final experiment, they saw the sun rising in the southeast, which is impossible if the Earth is flat, because we both agree that the sun never reaches south of the Tropic of Capricorn. And he just said, how do you know that? Were you there? Like, he was arguing you'd have to be everywhere on Earth and make a measurement, an observation in every single part of the Earth, and then come back here with that evidence and show us. Otherwise, we don't care. And then I also pointed out how when you're in the southern hemisphere, as you go south, you get closer together to another person going south. And then he just said, "Oh, have you personally done that?" So that's that. They can just reject every single thing based off that tactic.
Work. This is how you measure momentum.
Can
now,
or did?
I'm not a particle physicist.
Did
I'm
they
not a
get the
particle
direction or
physicist,
not?
But the way that you determine whether or not you've detected something is by measuring momentum, and that includes direction. So surely, yes, they
Yeah, I
did, if they
understand that.
measured momentum at all, which of course they
Surely,
did, because
yes, they did.
That's what they did.
Is this part of your Bayesian inference probability likeliness? Surely.
Ah, okay.
Don't call me Shirley.
The muon produces a long track that curves in the magnetic field, the direction of curvature identifying the incoming neutrino as a new muon, or sorry, a muon neutrino or an anti-muon neutrino. They also talk about the this information is used to determine the direction in which the director activity is traveling. So that's another example. This is referring to atmospheric neutrinos. This is in the same paper. This is how they're selecting out for atmospheric neutrinos by looking at the direction in which the activity is happening. So yes, they do this.
Okay, so,
Aw, poor little crybaby. Can't use his go-to move. Aw.
So
Not
yes,
really.
they do determine the
You're not,
direction.
you're not,
You're not
determining it came from Chicago, okay? They didn't
Yeah,
do
you
that.
absolutely can. So fortunately,
You can, but they didn't. Okay,
No,
that's
they
great.
Did. They actually did. So you know how they did?
You can, but they didn't. He literally just read to you how that measurement is confirmed.
So what they have is they have a plot of the background neutrino radiation, which you get by turning the thing off, and then you turn the thing on, and you collect the data then, and what you find is that the data that you detect the data that you detect at the detector, 730 kilometers away, is exactly what you would expect if the neutrinos were coming from Chicago. And that signal goes away when you turn off the beam in Chicago. So I don't know if you think it's a coincidence that like space is suddenly more energetic when they turn off the particle collider in Chicago, but that seems like it's an awfully big coincidence that you'd have to believe in order to not believe the Earth is a globe.
Well, I don't believe the Earth is a globe, not because of that. That has no bearing on it. It has to do with how flat it is. How flat the Earth is.
Then how do you explain why there's a difference in neutrino?
How do you explain how there's no measurable curvature? How do you explain that?
Why'd you interrupt me?
Because you're just asking me nonstop questions. Do you think I might get a turn?
I was giving a piece of evidence, and you haven't provided a sufficient explanation for that piece of evidence. That's
sufficient for what? What do you mean? What do you mean by sufficient?
What I mean by sufficient is
Beautiful pivot to meta. Or was that so that that annoying troll kid that I've talked to a few times, the word salad kid, the atemporal unconditional precondition that is necessary for whatever. I actually love a line he used against me, which didn't actually make any sense in the context of our debate, but it perfectly applies to Indio here. Nice pivot to meta, you beautiful slow boy. So I might have to actually steal that.
any
If
kind
you
of
don't like it?
explanation, any kind of explanation that can account for this data.
Beam
on a
divergence.
platter.
There's a greater beam divergence than they say. How about that? There you go.
There's a greater beam divergence than they say.
Yeah, that's
So we have the specific prediction and the data for our prediction predicated on, the way we claim our model is. And you have, well, after the fact, I can't account for it, so I'll just interject something magically.
that's right.
So how big is this beam divergence?
3 degrees. There you
Okay,
go.
and what's the evidence for this claim?
They'd make a detection on a flat Earth, freaking 500 miles away or 800
So
miles
we're
away.
assuming the consequence?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing
Okay,
the same
so
thing
you're
you're
assuming
doing.
the Earth is flat in order to justify the view, but we can.
And you're
measure
assuming the Earth
we
is a
can
sphere
measure
to
the beam
justify that it's going through the Earth.
No. We can measure the divergence, right?
Okay.
This is a
How do they
measurable
measure the
quantity.
divergence? Do they have another
With nearby detectors.
So they have a nearby detector. 3
Yeah, there's
degrees
a
in the
nearby
air.
detector.
3 degrees in the air.
It's underground.
Is it 3
Pointing
degrees
down.
in the air?
It's pointing down.
Is it 3 degrees in the air?
Why would it be 3
No, I
degrees
want
in
the
the
one
air?
that's
It's
3
pointing down.
degrees in the air.
Why would there be one? Why would there be one that's 3
Okay.
degrees in the air? What?
Okay, you said this thing's pointed down, right?
Yeah,
So
they-
3.
I think he's trying to say, oh, you haven't ruled out the beam divergence by having a detector where you wouldn't expect the beams to be, which is really incredibly stupid.
3 degrees from the
nearby detector.
direction. You said it's pointed down. You said it's pointed down by 3 degrees. So if you have a half-width beam divergence of 3 degrees, right? That would be parallel to the surface of the Earth, right? Relative to the beam direction, the axis of the beam, it would be in the air, right? It's off
Yeah. So
axis.
where's the evidence that it is? Where is this evidence?
Oh,
that
because you
actually
make the
is? Has
detection
this
on a
been
flat
measured?
Earth. Yeah, you
Oh,
guys
so we're
make it
just assuming the
detect
consequent. So,
Yeah,
so
I'm
this
doing
isn't
what you're
evidence.
doing.
No,
I'm
not
doing
assuming
what
anything.
you're
I'm just saying,
doing.
look, we
I'm
know
doing
that
what you're
we know
doing.
that the neutrinos are pointing down.
I am
and they're
doing
hitting
what
the
you're
detector
doing.
700
I'm
Where did I assume the
exposing
shape
you.
of
What
the
a
Earth at all?
baby.
So why, like,
Where
listen,
did I assume the shape of the Earth at
these
all?
are
in any
these
of
are
this?
nice gimmick tactics, okay? But I'm doing what you're doing.
A scientific experiment is a nice gimmicky tactic.
I am affirming the consequent, okay? Just
I'm
like
sorry,
you're
when did I
doing,
assume the
and
shape
I
of the
can
Earth
make
at
up an
all?
explanation. Dude, how many
sorry,
times do you
when
interrupt
did
me?
Science doesn't affirm the consequent because science is inductive, not deductive.
You know?
Can you actually just address the question? Because you're affirming the consequent. When have I assumed the shape of the Earth with regard to the Minos experiment?
When you said it goes through the Earth.
Well, I mean, it is underground, right? So surely it goes through the Earth regardless of whether you think the Earth is flat or round.
You said that the beam divergence was measured at other places, okay?
Yeah,
One of those
nearby.
other places would need to be someplace that's within, right? If you want to eliminate Earth versus globe versus flat Earth, you have to go parallel versus globe, this direction versus that direction, and you have to test
No,
it
you
at
can
that
just measure it
direction.
nearby.
How close?
At the beam, at the beam origin.
At the beam.
Yeah, at the
So
beam
they're right.
origin.
They got a detector right on the other side of the beam. What was it, like a super freaking huge tank? Because you
don't
already
have to
said
you
it's
don't have
hard to
detect all
measure.
you don't have to detect all
What,
the
what,
neutrinos.
what,
You
what
don't
is the
want to
method
detect
of
all the neutrinos.
what are they using to detect it close to the beam?
So the actual calorimeter, I don't know.
Is it
what
under the
calorimeter
ground?
they're using. The whole thing's underground. Yeah.
No, the detector is it
The whole-
also
all
under
of it's underground.
Is it in
Everything's
the
underground.
beam path somewhere?
Yes, they have calorimeters along the beam path. Yeah.
Okay, so the beam path is underground, right? That's
The
what
whole
you said.
thing's
It's going
underground,
through the Earth. Yeah, no, listen, buddy. Okay, you got the sagittal. You're saying it's going through the core of the fucking arc, right? Through the core of the arc, arriving in Minnesota. Okay,
Yep.
where in that chord is the detector to check the divergence?
It's at the origin, or near the origin anyway. It's at the origin of the beam. By the way, I found a paper that actually talks about the divergence.
You have to detect it further away.
Not really. I found a paper that talks about the divergence.
There's a detector near the beam and then at Minnesota. What the near beam, what that's there to do. I assume it's sort of, again, like, I'm not a physicist. I assume it's there to kind of like sight it in. It's the only way I can think of to explain it.
And apparently it's less than 10
Are you
milliads.
Googling this on the fly? Yeah, that's a cool story. How do they know
Yeah.
that?
Do you want to read the paper together?
Because it's a scientific paper. They measured it.
No, I don't want to read the paper together.
Okay.
This is called obscurantism.
How is it obscurantism?
This
If I'm
tactic.
just
Because nobody
looking
knows
up
about
information?
neutrinos or how neutrinos interact with matter or anything about them.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's too bad that you're an idiot, Indio.
Is the science too sophisticated for your audience?
It's too sophisticated for your audience.
No, it's not. My audience loves this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure they do because they want to play pretend scientist and pretend they know what you're talking about, but they don't. Okay, you know they don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, the projection is so loud. It is so loud. It is projecting louder and brighter than the projection of the moon that the Jews are shining on the firmament, according to Indio.
Oh, they're just like Google Gaga
I would
over
actually,
science
I would
fun
actually
words.
bet that a big chunk of my audience does know what neutrinos are.
Okay, this part of the debate takes way too long to set up, so I just have to explain to you what happened here. Indio is saying, look, you can actually create a giant mirror with the ground because there are salt flats on the earth, and when you get rain on them, those salt flats are perfectly smooth. Now, here's the deal. If the earth is curved, then it's a curved mirror, and curved mirrors distort things. So if you take the sky, and then obviously you can see there's kind of a double effect going on here. So there's a reflection of the clouds on the water. Now, if you take the sky, copy and paste it, and then rotate it and overlay it onto the reflection, you can see if the natural sky is being truly reflected or if it's being distorted in the reflection. And it should specifically compress the reflection. Everything should be compressed. So Blitz actually did this. He put it into a program that calculates it. And the reason you're seeing, if you look on the bottom left, that's the easiest place to see it. You can see two clouds, or like a duplicate of the clouds there. So in those duplicated clouds that you see, and the one on the bottom left, you can see it the easiest. The one on bottom, that is from the sky. That cloud image is taken by taking the sky and rotating it. And then the duplicate part of that cloud that's above it, that is from the reflection. So it's compressing the sky, exactly what it was supposed to do if we have a mirror. I don't know if that's convex or concave. I always get, well, it's convex, right? So it's a convex reflection. So this absolutely proves that there is curvature.
Oh, that image?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know where you got this one.
I
but
literally
don't
made it
think
5 minutes ago.
No, dude, I do not even know if this is a photograph. Look at the
It is a
color.
photograph.
Are you sure? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of what would you call it? Photoshop art.
And there you go. It's Indio's the one that brought this whole like test up. Blitz didn't even bring it up. And then, oh, well, you can prove it by doing this. Oh, okay, here, let me do it real quick. There we go. Yeah, it proves exactly what you would expect. Well, I don't even know if it's real or fake. So just nuh-uh.
Art of the Bolivian salt flats that aren't actual photos.
So hold on. Actually, explain this to me. If this was fake,
I'm
why
not
wouldn't
sure
they
if
match perfectly?
I didn't say fake.
If it was photoshopped, why
art.
wouldn't they match perfectly?
Did you get this from a place that said the Bolivian salt flats?
I got it from a website that's in Spanish, and I found it on
Okay.
Google search when I searched Bolivian salt flats. I mean, I can do it again for another one, but now it's really, really funny because now what you're saying is oh well, if
No,
you do it for,
I never used
if you do
that
it for
particular one.
these. Okay, so which ones do you use?
So Indio makes the claim that this is how you can demonstrate if curvature is real. Then he's given the evidence for that test that he brought up, and then it unequivocally shows curvature. He says, nuh-uh. So then Blitz says, fine, Indio, you give me a picture. Then you can't claim that the picture is fake or photoshopped, which is what he claimed. So Indio gave him that picture that you see right there, and...
By the way,
Well,
I just took the image that
he-
you did. Just as a quick point, I just took the image that you did, that you posted, and I flipped it, and they don't overlap perfectly.
Cool story, bro. Anyway, they don't overlap perfectly.
No, they don't. There's distortions away.
heck?
Like if you try to overlap two things, there are distortions on one side as opposed to the other side. I can screen cap the
On one side is vertically
if you-
or horizontally.
both,
Okay, and
so they don't match up. The top one
Okay,
is bigger
and?
than the top one is bigger than the smaller one. It looks like. So, cool story.
top one is
Your
bigger
evidence
than
is
the
wrong.
smaller one.
Your evidence
My
is bad and
evidence,
wrong, I guess.
my evidence is wrong. So
Well, yeah. I mean,
why
this
don't
is
you
the
make-
good example, right?
I'll make sure I get the correct calculations for you.
Please.
And I'm going to show you them. And well, you can.
Oh, it's so pathetic. Okay, funny enough, I ended up on the panel. I swear it was by accident. I was watching this in Discord and I typed a message, and as I was hitting enter, I got invited to the stage. And so when I hit enter, I hopped up on the stage. So I was explaining, I didn't mean to be up here, and this is Blitz's stage event or whatever. So I'm going to hop down. But I asked one question. I don't know, maybe somebody DM me.
Yeah, I'll
Hey,
DM you, man.
remember when you said that I go outside, it looks flat, therefore it is flat, was a
But you're
valid
talking to Andrew,
syllogism?
though, but I thought you said you.
No, I said that was a valid axiom.
Well, he wants to engage though.
No, you
No,
didn't.
let's pick that up another time. Let's have
Syllogism, and that's what you
Eddie
said.
have a chat with
That
Blitz
wouldn't
because
be a
Blitz
syllogism.
was
This
the
is
one
time.
that was supposed to
See you
be.
later.
Yeah, we'll pick that up another time.
It wouldn't be a syllogism because it doesn't have two premises. I would never say that.
No, except it's exactly what you said. Exciting news, I will be at DebateCon in Nashville this November. If you're in the area, click the link in the description to get your tickets. There will be meet and greets, VIP events, I'll have copies of both my books, I'll try to bring some Spankies with me, and you get to see what I do in person. Once again, link to the event with schedule, tickets, venue, all that information is in the description, so please check that out. And I'll see you soon. So this AV guy comes up and they talk for over an hour. And it's I don't know if it's worse, but it's just as bad. For at least 10 minutes, maybe more than 10 minutes, they're talking about the neutrino beam thing. And Blitz is saying over and over again, look, you don't have to accept that this proves that the Earth is a globe, but it does prove that the Earth is not flat, because the beam detector would have to be miles up in the sky in order to hit, or the neutrino cannon or whatever would have to be miles in the sky to hit the underground detector in Minnesota. And the mod is completely worthless, but not even half as worthless as AV. So we'll listen to like a minute of this so you can just see how horrendously bad faith and just I don't know, mentally ill these people are if they're not trolling.
So what is true is that it could be that it's like curvy there and then not curvy somewhere else. But what it does show is it does show that the Earth isn't flat. Because if it was flat, they would miss their target.
How do you know it's proving that the Earth is a globe? This is the whole.
I never. So look, that's the point. I said that it doesn't. I said that I didn't say that it does. I said that it proves the Earth's not flat. It says it proves the Earth's not flat.
No, dude, there's land topography. Okay, they could have
This
not
proves
accounted
that
for that.
this proves there's land topography. So they would have. So if the Earth was flat, we can actually. Do you want to run the math right now? We can just figure out exactly how high the topography
You
were.
weren't a math realist.
Oh, I know. I am. I'm a
math.
math. No, I'm not a mathematical realist. Doesn't mean that I don't think math is useful. We can run the math right now. So they angled it down at 3
He's a mathematical physicist. Math is Blitz's only thing.
degrees, right? Roughly
That actually kind of sounds insulting, but
3 degrees, like 2.8 or something like that. It's not really going to matter. So they angled it down at 3 degrees, and their target was 710 meters underground. So if it's angled down at 3 degrees, and we got to put it into radians, and the target was 730 kilometers away, then we can figure out that, in fact, if the Earth was horizontal, but there was just, topography, the emitter would have to be 38 kilometers up in the air relative to the detector.
Great. How did they
Now, are there
figure
any
out
mountains that are 38 kilometers tall?
Yeah, so what, dude? How did they figure out it
So
was an
what?
all-blade
Your evidence,
spheroid?
so the Earth is not flat.
it destroys my view. So what?
Yeah, the all-blade spheroid doesn't exist.
Okay,
They're
you're just
conjuring
asserting
it up
that.
within
This
their-
disproves
they're
the existence. This disproves the
conjuring it
flat
up.
Earth. This
No,
disproves
it
the flat
doesn't.
Earth,
No,
right?
it
Yeah.
doesn't. No,
it
it
does.
doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so
No.
if the Earth is flat, does that mean that there's a 38 kilometer tall mountain?
If the Earth is flat. No, it's
Yeah.
not if. It is.
Is there a 38 kilometer tall mountain?
Yeah, 38-kilometer tall mountain. What does that have to do with all the,
Well,
tea in
because
China, bro?
if they were angling their neutrino beam down
So
at 3
what?
degrees, which they are,
Who cares?
in order
They
to hit the
prove that the Earth is
detector,
an all-blade spheroid. They're not,
in order to
they're-
hit the
these are-
detector
yeah, the
730
hard-
kilometers away,
So desperate to not talk about the thing that unequivocally proves that the Earth can't possibly be flat.
they would, and if the Earth was flat, they would have to be on a mountain 38 kilometers up
sorry,
in the air.
Sorry, the evidence here for your neutrino example doesn't show that the Earth is an oblate spheroid in no way.
shows
shape,
the
or
Earth
form.
isn't flat.
Did the people
Shows the Earth isn't flat. You're avoiding it.
did the
AV,
people that were
you're
using
running.
it, listen,
Putting on your running shoes.
I'm actually showing how you are not providing.
Stop, Blitz.
evidence
He's
for
already
your
dead.
neutrino
Yeah, I know.
example. Yeah, you like to interrupt because you don't like this crescendo, and it is that
Crescendo?
your
I mean,
neutrino
like,
example
look,
doesn't
you're
prove
not
in
even
one way
understanding
or
the
another.
geometry
Dude,
here.
stop over talking me.
You're refusing
So
to
does it-
engage with the
dude,
evidence I'm
Are you
presenting.
gonna let me finish? Are you
Not
gonna
until you
finish? I'm
engage
gonna
with the
call
evidence
mod.
that I'm presenting.
I'm
No.
gonna have to call mod on you. Okay.
Okay,
now
call
it's-
mod.
Let's, yeah, come on, just let him finish,
Ask him
please.
to engage with the
Blitz, let him finish.
evidence then.
Nope. The evidence that you brought forward, that neutrino example, was not evidence of the Earth being an oblate spheroid.
I didn't make that
because
claim.
you
I
even
said it's evidence that the Earth's not flat.
Here we go again. Dude, this is the reason why people like you get muted, because you don't let the truth come out. And the truth is, the neutrino example is no way showing that the Earth is an oblate spheroid, because they, according to you, conjured it up within their test, and then they confirmed their bias by saying, well, we've got a different angle coming out from this where we're shooting as neutrinos, so obviously the Earth is not a flat surface. So you're saying that based on the information you gathered from this information, it's nowhere showing that the Earth is an oblate spheroid, or that you know that it's not flat. It's not showing either of those. It's just your imagination, subjective interpretation that this information is showing anything relative to what your point is. But in no way did we start off saying that this example is showing that the Earth is an oblate spheroid, which is my question to you, the premise, where we should have started with. What shows us that the Earth is an oblate spheroid? Your neutrino example is pretty much garbage at this point. You being a PhD should have known this coming into this topic. Now,
Okay, yeah. So to be clear, my claim is that the neutrino experiment proves the Earth isn't flat, or at least is evidence that the Earth isn't flat. I don't want to use the word prove.
sorry, you don't got
So can you provide an account for how it is that the neutrinos were able to hit their detector from 730 miles away while being angled into the ground at 3 degrees on a flat Earth? Can you provide
your
an account for
neutrino
that?
argument is not providing evidence that the Earth is an oblate spheroid. Therefore,
That wasn't
it is a
my
bunk
claim.
argument.
AV, that
It's a
wasn't my
bunk
claim. Why are you
argument.
misrepresenting me?
It's a bunk argument.
It wasn't
Don't
my
bring it
claim.
up.
Why are you misrepresenting me?
Is it going to prove that the Earth is an oblate spheroid or not?
That wasn't my claim. Why are you misrepresenting me?
All right, so that's my whole point.
DJ, can you
My whole
ask him
point-
to address my claim?
My whole point, no, listen, dude. My whole point was you bringing up an example that shows that the Earth is an oblate spheroid, and you
And the mod does nothing.
brought the neutrino example, which is not that. You
I brought up an
basically have
so
diverted
my
away from
claim-
answering my question at the very beginning.
My claim is that the neutrino experiment shows the Earth is not flat.
No, sorry.
What do you mean,
It
no,
doesn't.
sorry? Can you address it?
It
Can you
doesn't-
explain how it
yeah.
doesn't?
Yeah, you didn't
Go ahead.
provide what is the neutrino example showing, as far as you can tell. What is it telling everybody?
The actual experiment was conducted to, essentially try to learn more stuff about neutrinos, about neutrino mass mixing and things like that. But
Okay. What was the
the
end
setup
result,
of the
the end
experiment, the relevant part of the experiment is that they angled a neutrino beam downward into the ground at 3 degrees. And then they found that neutrino beam 730 kilometers away. And if the Earth was flat, they wouldn't have hit their target.
You can't say that because you don't know that information.
How do
You
I not
can't
know
say
that
that.
information? It was angled
Because
down
the
into the
neutrino
ground.
example, the neutrino example, according to what you're reading from the tests that have been conducted, is in no way, shape, or form telling anybody, even all the 600 listeners that you have listening to you right now, Babylon, that
For
the
what
Earth
it's worth,
is or
I
is
have like
not an oblate.
2,000 listeners.
That the Earth is or is not an oblate spheroid.
And just, I have no words. They talked about that for almost 40 minutes, but that is where we are going to end this video. Good job, Blitz. I could not possibly have done I couldn't have done anything because I didn't know about that experiment, and he calculated in real time the mirror thing. I don't know how to do that. I haven't looked into it, so nobody could have done it better than you. Thanks for watching, and you'll see me tomorrow.